We have a really special evening ahead of us with Patricia Grayhall, Donna Cameron, who will be discussing Patricia's new book, Making the Rounds, Defying Norms in Love and Medicine. Patricia Grayhall is a medical doctor and has written articles for both Queer 40 and the Gay and Lesbian Review. After nearly 40 years of medical practice, she turned her focus toward creative writing to compose a deeply personal and frank memoir about coming out as a lesbian in the late 1960s and training to become a doctor in a time when society disapproved of both. Patricia lives with the love of her life on an island in the Pacific Northwest where she enjoys other people's dogs, the occasional orca, or black bear.
As I relived my experiences in the late 1960s and 1970s, coming out as a lesbian and training to be a doctor when it was pretty much an all-male profession, as well as having an abortion when it was illegal prior to Roe v. Wade. So I realized that my experiences had relevance beyond the personal, especially now. My personal history is unique. My coming-of-age struggles reveal universal truths common to us all. We all, most of us want to love and to be loved. Most of us want friendship and to belong. And most of us want to do meaningful work. But when society tells you that who you love and who you are is wrong, or and that your dreams are unattainable because you're the wrong sex or the wrong color or whatever, life can be very challenging. So many of us try to change who we are and who we love in order to belong and sometimes give up our dreams. But I think that when we do that, we do ourselves irreparable harm and sometimes harm to others around us. So despite the obstacles, I believe that it's, and I hope to inspire people with my book, that it's important to follow your dreams and to live as your authentic self. So Brené Brown once said, someday you'll tell the story of how you overcame what you went through, and it'll be someone else's survival guide. So that's what I hope for my book. When I was living my life, of course, it just seemed like a series of random and chaotic events. And it was not clear how the culture influenced my personal choices. But when I started writing, then I could see the patterns. I could see how the messages the culture gave me about women's role in society and the objectification of women and the pervasive homophobia, how that affected my attitudes and behavior. My grandfather was often the only doctor in Montesano, Washington during the early 1900s. And although he died when I was young, I remember him as a very kind man. And I heard many of his stories about riding horseback up the Wenatchee to deliver a baby or take care of a fallen logger. And I thought how wonderful it would be to take care of people in times of crisis as he did. Sometimes that year, I felt like a child throwing a tantrum, kicking and screaming on the floor, unable to express the fear, hurt, and rage in words. The rage would haunt me for years, erupting at seemingly minor provocation. But despite it all, I was learning to trust myself as a doctor and not let the hostile work environment undermine my confidence. 8 hours later, when I changed out of my scrubs in the on-call room, I leaned against the wall for a moment, too tired to feel angry, tears welling up. I don't know if I can survive this, I thought before I jammed my scrubs into the bin. But as the only woman intern, I couldn't let anyone see me cry. I was 15 when I thought I might be a lesbian. I heard my parents talking about, my mother was explaining to my father what a lesbian was in the living room. And it didn't sound good. But I thought, well, I'll go check it out. So I took the bus to the Phoenix Public Library And I looked up everything I could find on homosexuality. So what I learned was that homosexuality was a mental illness, that homosexuals led unhappy lives because they couldn't sustain jobs or relationships. I tried to be straight, and when I was 17, I had really quite a lovely boyfriend. He was smart and handsome, and I liked him. But then, over Christmas vacation, I spent several days with his family in Los Angeles, and I realized that I liked his sister better. At age 19, I decided trying to be straight just wasn't working for me. So I dropped out of college, and I went to San Francisco to find other women, other girls like me. And indeed, I did find community there.
Much of your book's devoted to your journey to find out what you wanted in a love relationship.
Right.
And along the way, you're very candid about the fact that you made some mistakes, and some of them were quite painful. So as long as you put it in your book, won't you share some of it with us tonight?
No.
No.
No. So has anyone here ever made a relationship mistake? Raise your hand. Okay. You know, although I did have romantic liaisons with women that I describe in my book, my longest term relationship during my medical training was actually with a gay man. And our platonic friendship provided both of us with a great deal of support during some really trying times. But my exposure to the women's music movement in Boston in the 1970s taught me that female eroticism was cause for celebration, but there were few role models for how to sustain relationship beyond desire. So I had just had an unexpected romantic encounter with Jillian, a straight colleague at the Harvard School of Public Health. I was on my way to New Hampshire with my live-in lover, Marianne, to visit an ex-lover, Cass, that I still had feelings for. I mean, I have to say, as a happily married monogamous woman in her 70s, this is really kind of awkward. The next morning, I got up early to have time alone with Cass. We talked in quiet voices at her kitchen table, holding steaming mugs of coffee. Still processing what had gone on with Jillian, I told Cass an abbreviated version of it. At first, Cass found it exciting and encouraged me to talk, but then she abruptly got up and refilled her mug. When she sat down again, she fixed me with those lovely blue-gray eyes. Make a choice. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I held her gaze. I'm not sure I have a choice. I don't know what Jillian wants, and I don't feel in control of the situation. What do you want? I sat sipping my coffee, my mind churning with thoughts I couldn't share. I wanted Marianne's friendship, if not her love. I wanted Cass to still love me and sleep with me. I wanted to penetrate the boundaries of intimacy with Jillian and see where it led. And I wanted no one to be hurt and for any of it to interfere with my work and my career. I wanted it all. If I'd known about Buddhism then, I'd have realized desire is the root of all suffering. I write about life events that affected me deeply, sometimes associated with shame. And I think, though, that it's necessary to reveal our true humanity and our struggles in order to truly connect with readers, rather than, the image that we portray on social media, for example, the polished image. So I've written about an era of personal growth that doesn't show me in the best light. I was a flawed and complicated young woman who, shaped by my family and the culture of the time. And I think the risk is that who I was then will be fixed in the reader's mind, even though I'm a very different person now. But it's my hope that readers will learn from my mistakes and my poor choices, but also my strength and resilience. Writing under a pen name allowed me to be very honest and frank in what I wrote. And it's not a cop-out, it's all there on the page. It's just that, I changed the names of most of the characters in my book as well as my own to protect their privacy and to, basically protect those that I love. People bring to a book their own experiences, their own biases, and their own emotional triggers. So fortunately, I have, along the way, had the support of other writers. A lot of painful feelings came up as I was writing, and sometimes I had to quit and go for a walk or play with the dog or, just write in small chunks. But, I think, I think it's necessary to relive those feelings, to write a narrative that can produce similar feelings in readers, but feelings that are hopefully tempered with understanding and meaning, which is the purpose of memoir. For women, whether queer or straight, there's power in knowing our history. And the strength of the lives of us elders can help younger people know what's possible. And then for older women, I hope my book validates their experiences, or at least some of their experiences, and reinforces for them that our lives have meaning. And for men, I hope my book shows that most lesbians are not women who hate men. We're women who prefer other women as romantic partners. But, I also think that men can learn something about love in reading this book. And probably, most of all, I'd like to inspire those who've ever been told that their passions amount to the wrong feelings. Perhaps those marginalized people, whether LGBTQ, women, people of color, disabled people, who struggle to realize the dreams that others of us take for granted. So Sean Thomas Doherty said, "Right now, there's someone out there with a wound in the exact shape of your words." I really, really appreciate you all coming. I am so happy to see everyone here, and just thank you. I just love it that you're here, and just thank you.